Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, we have the security guard of Johnny Depp, and displayed to the court are images of Johnny Depp suffering injuries, which are caused, in the testimony anyway, by Amber Heard. So this is obviously a breakdown of the coverage that I've been doing. I've given you a highlights video, which is everything, and then I'm breaking it down into more bite-sized chunks for those that just want, a quick to-the-point video. So I hope you appreciate it. If you do, hit that thumbs up button. And because these are always demonetized, you can support the channel with membership, Patreon, or even a super thanks. But hey, cheers guys. Take care.
Do you recall observing any arguments between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Several.
Can you tell the jury about one that comes to mind?
There was an incident, for example, I just happened to be on the floor of their penthouse, which is on the top floor of this building. I was outside by the pool area reading a book, and when I was walking back past their door, I could hear shouting. I could hear her voice shouting, at a very high pitch. So I didn't rush in right away or anything. I just kind of stood by the door. He was, speaking with her, and then the voices, the shouting dissipated, and then, there was music playing, and then they started talking. So I kind of just stood by the door briefly, and then I went into another section of the penthouse floor.
Do you recall approximately the time frame of that argument?
As far as the year or how long it lasted?
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Bett. The year.
That could have been perhaps 2012, 2013, maybe a little thereafter.
Did Ms. Heard ever confide in you about her relationship with Mr. Depp?
Briefly.
Do you recall her saying anything in particular about her relationship with Mr.
Well,
Depp?
there was a couple of occasions. There was one occasion in which they had an argument at his West Hollywood address. Johnny told me, just take her downtown to the penthouse so she can relax and cool off. As we were driving downtown, she was crying. This was at the point when the arguing was taking place quite frequently. And I was telling her, I said, Amber, this can't continue. You guys are either going to kill each other or you're going to be in jail. And, with tears and everything, she says, but I love him and I'm not going to lose him. And I says, but you guys can't keep doing this. So we eventually got to the downtown apartments. She said, thank you. I dropped her off. And then I went back to the West Hollywood address.
What did you mean by, this can't continue when you told Ms. Heard that?
The constant arguing and bickering and so forth, because as I said, it was slowly progressing, and it was just going to turn out bad eventually.
I believe you testified earlier that you observed many arguments between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard. Do you recall anything that Ms. Heard said to Mr. Depp while they were arguing?
There was an incident because, as I said, the arguing progressed over and over as the years continued. He would text me when I was working saying,
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain that objection if you want to.
Mr. Bett, if you could just focus on what you overheard Ms. Heard say while observing arguments between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard.
I overheard her saying to him, he's a fat ass, fuck you, Johnny, and you too, Sean, at one time when, she went to throw a water bottle or a plastic cup down the stairs and it bounced kind of in Johnny's direction, but I ended up getting him and we, got out of there as soon as possible.
Did you ever see Ms. Heard throw anything other than a water bottle?
It was a water bottle or a coffee cup. It was something plastic.
Other than a water bottle or a plastic cup, did you ever see Ms. Heard throw anything else?
No, other than what he told me when she threw a broken bottle and sliced his finger in.
Sir, I'll sustain the objection. The jury will strike that testimony. Please just answer the question asked, and when there's an objection, do not speak, okay?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
After observing several arguments between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard, what happened next?
As far as a time frame, well, as I said, the arguing, when it would continue, we would always, I'd put him in the car and we'd drive back to his West Hollywood address, at which point it just depended on the week or the day or the month. They would reconcile within hours, or it might take a day where he would stay overnight at his West Hollywood address, and then, I would take him back the next day, and, they would reconcile by, talking, and she would have, candles lit, or, a bottle of wine open with glasses, and, within, certain evenings, I'd get a text message from her, asking me to go pick up dinner at local restaurants they frequented.
Did you ever see any violence between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp?
No.
Other than the occasion when you saw Ms. Heard throw something plastic in Mr. Depp's direction, did you ever see Ms. Heard hit Mr. Depp?
No.
At any point during Ms. Heard's and Mr. Depp's relationship, did you ever see any injuries on Ms. Heard?
No.
How about on Mr. Depp?
Yes.
When did you observe injuries on Mr. Depp?
The first time would have been around 2014, I guess, in which he had his finger was damaged from an incident in Australia.
When else did you see injuries on Mr. Depp?
I saw another injury around, would have been March of 2015. He had a swollen kind of cheekbone eyelid.
Your Honor, if I may please pull up a photograph, exhibit number 146,
All right, just to the witness?
just for the witness, that's
Okay.
correct.
I'm sorry, 146?
Yes, thank you, Your
Okay,
Honor.
thank you.
Mr. Bett, do you recognize this photograph?
I do,
And how do you recognize it?
because I took that picture.
Why did you take this photograph?
Well, we needed it as evidence in case Ms. Heard tried to make allegations towards Mr. Depp. I was emphatic with him, telling him that's a serious mark and we need to photograph it.
I just moved to strike for foundation.
I'll allow that answer, but thank you.
And when did you take this photograph?
It would have been around March of 2015.
Your Honor, we ask that this photograph please be published to the jury and admitted into evidence.
Any objection to 146?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 146 in evidence and be published to the jury. Thank you.
Mr. Bett, what does this photograph show?
It depicts a swollen upper left cheekbone with redness to it.
Thank you. Did you notice any other injuries on Mr. Depp?
On that specific day, no.
Later in time, did you ever notice any other injuries on Mr. Depp?
I did.
Can you please describe what you recall?
It was around December of that same year, 2015. He got into an argument with Miss Heard, and she scratched him, and he had injuries.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain the objection, only your observation, sir, what you saw.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Bett, can you please describe the injury that you saw on Mr. Depp?
Yes, he had scratch marks around his nose area, I believe on one of the sides of his face, in the cheek area, and then on his forehead.
And if we could just publish to the witness, plaintiff's exhibit number 65.
65.
Okay, thank you.
Do you recognize these photographs?
I do,
And how do you recognize them?
because I took them.
When did you take them?
Mid-December 15th.
And why did you take these photographs?
I took him to show proof that he once again had injuries sustained in an altercation.
Your Honor, we'll move to publish these photographs to the jury and for admittance.
All right, any objection to 65?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 65 in evidence, it can be published.
And Mr. Bett, would you please describe what we're looking at here?
The first picture, there's a laceration on the left side of his nose. It looks like the left upper cheek has a slight bruise to it. And then on his forehead, right above the ridgeline, just almost to the center, it looks like there's a red scratch mark above his left eye and to the right.
Do you see that in the same subsequent pictures in page 2?
Okay, page 2, I see a scratch mark, a vertical scratch mark adjacent to his right ear on the right side of his face.
Same question for page 3.
Page 3, there's a scratch mark on the lower right portion of his chin. There's that same scratch mark on the center left side of his nose, and you could see the frontal portion of that bruise that's on the left side under his eye.
Did you ever see any similar injuries on Miss Heard?
None.
Did you ever see any injuries on Miss Heard?
I didn't.
Did Miss Heard ever tell you she was being abused by Mr. Depp?
She didn't.
Did she ever ask you for help?
No.
Did you ever see any evidence that Miss Heard was being abused by Mr. Depp?
I didn't.